What's going on, everyone? It's Matt Szat. We're back for another Vanishing Inc. interview, and our guest today, he needs no introduction. And if we gave him one, it would probably take up half this video. And he's one of our entire team's favorite magicians, and he was our guest of honor this past January at Magi Fest. Please welcome in the one and only David Williamson. Oh yes, what do you got there? Is that the Amateur Magician's Handbook?
What's that now?
Yeah. Oh, what's up? Thanks for joining us.
My favorite book here. I was trying boning up for the master class here. I got to learn some tricks.
What chapter are you on in it? Probably be time
for coins, back palming coins, a la Downs. So we'll be doing a lot of that in the master class. So
sounds good. Thank you.
Back palming silver dot. No, we're not going to do that.
All right, no worries. But thank you. What's been going on? What have you been doing since we last saw you at Magi Fest?
Oh man, that was crazy, wasn't it? That was fun. Everybody packed in like sardines pre-COVID.
Yeah, it feels like it was a decade ago. It does not feel like it was this year, but you know, we're making things happen. You're joining us this Sunday. Your master class starts with the back.
Is this Sunday?
Yeah, it's I think so. I believe so.
Okay, I gotta really.
We'll keep it short so you can get back to the book. And I'm super excited. I know you're excited, and we just want to talk to you about it for a second because, you know, your track record, it speaks for itself. You're a master yourself. Even if you won't admit it, we all admit it, you're a master. But there's a select group of magicians out there, and, you know, everyone's curious, but there might be some magicians that are like, is this going to be new material, or is this going to be
the same crap he's been doing 30 years? I know.
Yeah.
That's the same thing.
You knew the question. You read my mind.
I do know the questions. And the answer is yes, I am going to be doing new stuff that I've never taught before. And when I say new stuff, I don't mean I've just invented something that I'm going to throw out there without ever having performed for anybody. What I mean is this is material that I've been doing for decades that I've never really published or talked about because it's based on other people's material. For example, I'm going to teach this Sunday my gambling set.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I used to do corporate events, and I did almost 30 years of that was how I made my living, just doing corporate events. And I would sit down at a table after my show at a corporate event and have a bunch of people gather around. And I do about a 20-minute gambling demonstration. And in that demonstration, I would do a sort of a pseudo gambling routines. And it was all very kind of high level concept stuff in that I didn't really get down and dirty about betting strategies, and because I'm not really a gambler and I'm not really a card cheat. But for example, the basis of part of it is Darwin Ortiz's bottom deal demonstration, which is a very clever routine. But I've added a twist ending, combined a couple things, and I'd like to show you the way I do that, get into it, get out of it, move over to the next thing, and then engineer callbacks throughout this routine. So it's various routines that people may already know, some you may not know, and then I've combined them together with connecting tissue, original bits of business, and then engineered some callbacks so it all wraps up with a nice button. So it's a little act in itself. And that's why you wouldn't have seen it, let's say, in a lecture or a video that I've done previously, because it's not new routines, but it's a new act based on other people's routines and things that I've kind of engineered.
And that's super
interesting. Any sense to you? Is that a lot of talking?
No, that's perfect. What's that? Sorry.
It sounded like word salad to me, like I'm just...
No, that was actually perfect. I was going to say it sounded interesting to me because I don't do a lot of gambling routines because I'm the same way. Like I like the moves and the way it's act, but
exactly.
The way it acts, yeah.
That's the way I feel about it because, most of us aren't gamblers and we don't spend our time.
Yeah, exactly.
Viewers aren't gamblers. So when you go into the weeds on some of these gambling routines, you go, now, you would always hit the third card on first base and then a blackjack. And then now I would always hold. And all these rules of gambling enter into it. And I find that people kind of glaze over part of the audience. You'll have one or two who are interested who are actually spend time at blackjack tables or poker tables. But for the most part, people want to see higher level things like how do you control a card from the middle of the deck into your hand, or how do you memorize something, or how. So I kind of use gambling terminology to present magic routines, although the bottom deal demonstration is very entertaining and something people can actually connect to.
That's awesome, and it's a really cool way of looking at it, and it's interesting because we have a Vanishing Inc. Masterclass Live Facebook group where people can talk. It's an exclusive group. Only if you're a subscriber, you can get in. And we talk each week. And we've noticed recently that there's a good portion of subscribers who are actually just starting their magic journey. And I'll admit I'm a little jealous. They get to learn and hear like such great thinking right there from masters of magic to start. But, some of these things, they can be complex sleight of hand. But if you're a totally new magician, like what are you going to take away from this seminar? What can they look forward to the most?
Absolutely. Well, every time I've lectured, and I've been lecturing for magic for, let's see, I'm 59. I did my first lecture when I was 18. So, what's that? 40 years of lecturing. And I do try to pepper basic theory because we all need to be reminded of kind of basic theory.
Of course.
Just performing magic and how to present magic and sleight of hand to make it palatable to people. Years ago, and I'm sure I'll talk about this, but Albert Goshman, who was my favorite close-up magician, my favorite people of magic. He was a cantankerous guy, but I loved him. But I showed him a magic trick when I was young, and he said, "What's the hook?" And I go, "I beg your pardon." He goes, "What's the emotional hook?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Why should people care?" And that's the crux of all of it. And that has stuck with me all these years. And that's the way I think about, and that's the filter through which I look at routines and routine building and magic and sleights that I'll choose. Why should people care? What are you doing that makes them care? How does it connect to them? And that's a great place to start when even practicing magic. Just to make a card change on Instagram is one thing. And it's fun and we all love that. But when you're in real meat space, when you're actually with people and performing magic for family and friends or others, why should they care about a card change? What context are you putting it in? And how can you build what happens before that and after that? What do you say to make that meaningful experience for them? So this is the kind of teaching that I do. I teach the hardcore sleights too. We're going to be learning the diagonal palm shift with multiple cards, to multiple shift.
Warm the hands up.
Yeah, warm those up. And but also I'm going to be teaching strategies for what do you say when somebody's shuffling the deck? How do you engineer that perfect ending? But you start thinking about it before you even take the deck of cards out of your pocket. How do you soften them up? So things like that. It's a sort of a holistic view rather than the nuts and bolts of how a trick works.
And I love that. I love learning new tricks. Don't get me wrong, but I am a big magic theory geek. I love it. I've read all the big books. I'm big into that. And you mentioned Albert Goshman told you, what is the hook? And I remember during your lecture at MagiFest, you even mentioned about saying "okay" too many times in a performance, like little things like that. What are some of those other mistakes?
Well, there's a lot of verbal tics, and I still catch myself. I'm not saying
of course
I'm new to them or I've grown out of them, but once you're aware of them, you can mitigate it and minimize things like I call it the "I'm gonna" school of magic, where you say, "Now I'm going to ask you to shuffle the cards, and I'm going to have you pick a card, and I'm going to take this card, I'm going to put it on there, I'm going to take the cap off this pen, I'm going to put it on the other end, I'm going to hand it to you, finger and thumb." I mean, we call it expository pattern, and it's what we all do when we're starting out because we haven't thought of anything else to say yet.
Of course.
So to fill the emptiness, we start explaining what's happening in our hands. I'm going to take this card, and I'm going to put it in the middle of the deck. Well, I can see that. A picture's worth 1,000 words. How about say something more interesting that means something to me? And so that's one of my little magical pet peeves. But we're all guilty of it because it's a natural progression in learning magic. You kind of grow out of those things.
It's great. And you mentioned
if somebody points it out, you're often not aware of it. And I know professionals who still.
That's 100%. I didn't realize too. I kind of was real bad of the "okay" family. I was bad with that one. And please do this right here for me, or like do this right here for me. That's how
do me a favor. Do me a favor. Do me a favor.
Do me a favor. I'm a
lot of favors on me here, and I call it admin, like administration. Like a lot of it's like, wow, this is a lot of work. I thought I was because I enjoy myself and watch a magic trick, but he's asking me.
Am I doing all the work?
He's asking me to do that, and I said, a lot of administration.
And now someone might watching this, they're like, "Oh, I do that. I don't want to stop doing that." But also I've seen a lot of interviews with you, and you've mentioned in the past few times that sometimes it's also important to hear what someone like you says and just say, "You know what? I don't want to listen to that. I want to carve my own path." And maybe not on those things, but the things they teach, maybe you want to try something different. So How do you feel about that? Where do you?
Oh, well, I mean, I always preface
Yes.
my lectures these days with, when you hear, especially an old guy like me, lay down some law
Exactly.
or make some sort of proclamation, or, you should have a little voice in the back of your head going, I doubt it. I wonder if that's true. Maybe I don't want to do it that way. Nobody is an oracle in magic. There are no oracles. Nobody knows everything. And nobody knows, and that was the great thing about Don Wayne, who passed away recently. He was a great magic consultant to all the great magicians, Siegfried Roy, and everybody. He was a wonderful, wonderful man and a down-to-earth thinker. He was just a real practical guy. And his insight was, there's no geniuses in magic. Because, there's nobody who can tell you this is the right way to do something and this is the right way to do something. And the innovation he brought to magic was the idea of A/B testing, like they do in marketing. It's like, well, should I end with this or should I do this? And you go, try it both ways. How about that? Try it this way for a while and then try it that way for a while. And if you like it better that way, go that way. And then try a little offshoot of that. You're always improving. You're always testing. And you're never done. You're never done. That's the thing. I think if we think of ourselves as perpetual students of magic, then you'll be in a better place mentally and you'll open yourself up to new ideas and new ways. And it's easier to change lanes too. If you think of yourself constantly as a student and on a journey rather than I'm done, I've mastered that skill and I've mastered this and I'm now at this echelon and this level. It's one of those things, the longer you are in magic, hopefully, and this is the way I feel now, the more you realize how little you know about magic. And you get very humbled the longer you're in it. You know what I mean? When I was young in my 20s, and I had some skills under my belt, boy, I thought I was kind of done. And I did the national first.
Set for life.
Then you get, you're set for life. And then you get older and you realize, wow, how little I really know. And it's a very humbling kind of experience. But then it opens you up. It opens you up to so many new ideas and opportunities to explore.
And you're clearly always open to things. So, when you're approaching your magic, where do you find that creativity? You said you're always open. You're looking for new ideas, like outside of that.
In front of me, it's the audience in front of me. Excites.
Of course, yeah.
I want to give them something that's going to surprise them, thrill them, make them laugh, make them happy, and make this a life-affirming experience. I want them to leave the room or the experience or the theater jubilant. That's the word. I want them to go, that was a great experience. I am so glad I went in there or I spent that time with that person. That's the goal, not to show you how cool I am or what this trick does. It's the experience. And that's what makes me, because when I went from corporate, which was kind of a soul-crushing experience, because you have these spoiled rich people kind of going, what's next? They've seen it all. They're kind of jaded. But when I went to like the cruise ships, for example, the Disney Cruise Line, I worked on them for 10 years. The families, the kids, it wasn't just kid shows. It was families, watching a family and being able to reach out to all those generations. And they were excited to be there and excited to, see magic and laugh and so. And it just breathed a new life into me magically. It's like after so many years of doing the corporate entertaining,
of course,
to find people who were just the regular folks ready to have a good time and enjoy magic, it opened me up. And I went way back to my roots in magic and I rethought about everything and the way I did it. And it was kind of my, how runners get their second wind.
Of course, yeah.
My second wind in the middle of my career. And I've been kind of floating on that ever since, to be honest.
And that's very important too, because I believe I'm probably paraphrasing here, and I believe it was Vernon who said it, but someone saying if you love magic, don't ever do it professionally.
Yeah, if you love magic, don't do it for a living. If you love it, and I've had days where I knew what he was talking about. It's like it's true. Some of the best and most active magicians I know are quote unquote amateur enthusiasts in the best sense of the word. They choose not to make their living doing magic. Of
course.
It becomes their life, their love, their hobby, and, they're...
So this may be a tough question, but, for someone who's struggling now, someone who is a live performer and really maybe they're not interested in that virtual escape that we're in right now, how can they what can they do? I mean, you're planning on talking about practicing. Maybe there's a new way you can practice to find You're going to talk about that in the masterclass to find that new second wind. What are maybe, I know it's off the top of your head, so it might be tough, some ideas to find that, re-energize yourself?
That's an excellent question. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's okay to say that.
No, it's a tough time for professional performers of all stripes, of course. And a lot of us find time at home now, and I'm not out traveling, I'm not on the road. And now I do have time to kind of go back to my roots and pick up Amateur Magician's Handbook and reread some of the old books and think about kind of what I'm doing with new eyes. And what I've been doing is I've been doing classes, online classes, personally, one-on-one. But that's why I was so excited about the masterclass, because I feel like, I have some experience out there in the world that has given me kind of fresh eyes to look at these things. And so I love sharing magic, and it's got me invigorated too, because when I'm teaching magic, it forces me to actually think about what I actually do as well. So teaching is learning as far as I'm concerned. So, I would say to people who are out there who love performing and don't have the opportunity now, teaching is a great way to do it. If there's a community, if there's like, let's say kids in your community, if you could rally together an online Zoom magic class or something like that, it is so instructive to go back to the basics and start teaching magic. The best part of my week on the Disney cruise ship was the 30-minute magic class I gave for the kids on the ship, because it forced me to put together a curriculum and think about how to phrase what I wanted to say about why magic is great and why it's fun and why it's important and why, what it can do for them, and how to perform it to make the maximum impact. And by teaching children, it's helped me to be able to teach more experienced magicians too.
It's very interesting. I've actually had my first teaching experiences ever recently, and it is, you really? You realize that you're looking at yourself, you're like, oh, I've been doing this from the whole way.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see when you say it out loud.
It is very humbling, Yeah.
And that's so awesome. And I know
what as I do.
And I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know I really appreciate you talking with us, and we talked about teaching. Maybe that's stepping out of the comfort zone for people. And you've done some totally different things. You've done close up. You've done stage. You've done the Circus 1903. So you're on stage. You're close up. And what would you say to someone who maybe wants to take this time and they want to become from a close-up magician to a parlor magician, or they want to change, they want to do a different style of magic?
I think that's a great idea. I think now's a good time. And I've been working with some people, like I said in my lessons, who are taking this opportunity to step up to the next level, whether it's from a close-up magician to a stand-up or to a stage. And I encourage people to do that. There's material you're probably doing now that is scalable, and can be reframed for a larger audience or a different audience. And don't always look for the new. I would say it's really the exercise is to take things you already do and reimagine them and rescale them. And that's the fun, and that's the challenge also, though. It's easy to say, it's not easy to do.
Absolutely.
This is the time that we have that's been given to us to think about things like that.
Yeah, and if you do virtual magic shows, you've had to do it on that scale. Like, you can't just take your close-up show and put it in front of the camera. You've had to rethink how you interact with people online and do things like that. It's a similar idea.
Have you done Zoom shows yet?
Yes, I've done a bunch. Yep.
Oh, really? See, I haven't done one yet because I don't know what that would look like for me. I've been afraid of it. But I would love to hear your experience of it sometime, because
absolutely, we can get it. It's totally different.
Kind of exciting in a way, isn't it? The challenge.
It absolutely is, and you have to see outside. You're inside a box, but you have to see how you could think outside of it and take advantage of it. So a lot of people look at it as a negative, but you have to look at it as a positive. You have a totally new landscape.
A positive attitude. It's a TV show, basically.
Essentially, yep.
Reach through that screen. You have to reach through and connect with people, because that's what close-up magic is. It's connecting. And
you're using we saw your, before we got on, we saw your different camera angles. So you got it down. You got
we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna learn sleight of hand. We're gonna see overhead views. I can even pop in here and make sure you're doing it right. See, I'll just check. Oh yeah, hold your left pinky a little lower. So,
and that's what we love about these master classes. Well, I appreciate you taking a moment. That's all we have for today. We want to let you go, but before Sunday, where can people find you on social media if they want to say hi, follow you, find out more of you?
Go to davidwilliamson.com.
Okay, cool.
Or go to Instagram at Magic Willie.
All right, we'll do. We'll pop that up so everyone can see. But thanks again for taking a moment to speak with us, and we'll see you on Sunday.
See you Sunday. Bye. Thanks.